friends, family, and followers. On the 1st of July, I was diagnosed with leukemia. For those of you who are not familiar with this term, it's blood cancer. I've been feeling down under the weather for 1-2 months. My body felt exhausted and my mood low. I simply put this down to inflated levels of stress and hard work. Today I've completed my first chemotherapy session, and I have several more to come. I've been told that the treatment will affect my energy levels and destroy my immune system. There's a risk that I will not survive. I feel so utterly sad and confused right now. Lots of love to you all, Fabian.
Good morning. So, I'm going to start with asking a question. So please raise your hand if you have ever heard the phrase involving the patients. I suspected as much. We attend a lot of health conferences and different political events, and we hear it all the time. The need to involve the patients. You see hospital executives, innovation leaders, politicians talk about the need to make the patient take an active role in its treatment, the need to digitalize for instance, the chemo schedule, or enable the patients to chat with the nurses rather than having to call in on a specific time of the day. And don't get me wrong, I think involving the patients is great, and the fact that the healthcare is starting to understand the power of that and the importance of that is phenomenal. However, I think there's a danger in the assumption that involving the patients is a solution to the problem, because it's not. Involving the patients only scratches a surface to a much more deeply rooted problem. And that's the fact that patients as well as families are often undergoing a depression. I'm a cancer patient myself. In December last year, I finished 900 days of chemo. And as you can see, or as you saw on the video, my physical state was pretty jaded in the beginning throughout the process. However, I've been lucky enough to survive, and as you can see, the body has its own healing mechanism. It's the mind that takes most of the damage. And yet not a single doctor or nurse has ever asked me the question, how do you feel? Now, I don't blame anyone personally for this. It's not like I think that doctors or nurses are less empathetic people. Probably the opposite. There's probably a reason why you start to work within the healthcare. But the problem is of a more structural nature, and it comes from within the healthcare. Mental health is being overlooked. So, if we, instead of asking ourselves on these stages, how can we work towards involving the patients more? If we dared to ask the question, how can we work so that patients are not going to be depressed? Or how can we boost mental health for everybody affected by cancer? I think it would lead to a much more interesting conversation. One that would probably start with, what is mental health? Can it be compartmentalized or broken down? And also, is it going to be the healthcare's responsibility to deal and take care of mental health? Or should they rather work together with another solution, a third-party solution, perhaps a patient-driven solution to deal with the problem? So I'm the CEO and co-founder of such a solution, and it's called War on Cancer. We're a health tech company on a mission to radically improve mental health for everyone affected by cancer. And we're currently developing a social network for patients, survivors, and loved ones. A niche community for cancer specifically designed to boost mental health. And by uniting patients in a social network, and by uniting people affected in a social network, we're in a unique position to become a global provider of patient-reported data. Data that can help healthcare progress, data that can supercharge R&D processes for pharmaceutical companies, and data that can increase our understanding of causes, consequences of cancer. But let's start with the why. This whole journey really started with my personal blog. This blog made me realize the power of storytelling. The reason why I started sharing was initially to get in touch with someone going through the same thing as I did. When I was diagnosed, I asked the first question that hit my head was, okay, so what's going to happen with my life? What's going to happen with my career? I asked my doctors that question, and I got really vague answers back. I also asked about diet. I said, is there anything I should focus on when it comes to diets? And they said, eat whatever makes you happy. And it's very, to hear that kind of response in a situation like that is very belittling. And it's not the way you should treat people, because you're taking away one of the few things that patients can control. So I did what many other patients do. I ventured online, and it all started with a Facebook post. I told my friends about the situation and asked whether people could help me find a person in a similar situation by sharing. As you can see, it wasn't just my friends who shared that message. It's almost 13,000 people shared it on the same day, and what followed was the most beautiful thing that I've ever experienced. So thousands and thousands of people from all over the world sent their love back to me through messages, through emails, even through phone calls. And what I also noticed was there was a lot of gratefulness in those messages. So many started with saying, thank you for sharing. I'm going through the same thing as you are, and just so you know, this is helping. So I got this instant gratification, and I felt that I was helping people. And it made me happy. So I then decided to share my full journey in a blog. Now, as mentioned, this blog really made me understand the power of storytelling. Because first of all, sharing is therapeutic. It was a way to me to process what I was going through. And secondly, it helped me to normalize the situation around me so that my friends and family got a better understanding of what it was I was actually going through, and it could hence treat me more like a person and less like a victim. And thirdly, again, the feeling of helping others. The blog had more than 200,000 readers, many of them going through cancer themselves. And I can honestly say that I've never felt happier in my life than when I was sharing and knowing that I was helping so many. And this was even though I was going through the worst phase of my life. So this led me to expand the vision of what I was doing. I said, well, if I can feel this way, then we can make others feel the same way. And that day, the idea of War on Cancer was born. I'm not going to walk you through exactly what's happened because I have about 2 minutes left. We'll be holding a speech at 1 p.m. today to deep dive into what we're building, but just to walk you through what we have done. So we're currently working at a third version of the platform. It started out as a storytelling platform in 2016, which is in essence a blog portal, which quickly grew into a web-based community, which is now due to launch as an app-based community. We're currently beta testing together with our first users. We're working together with 6 of the world's leading pharmaceutical companies within oncology and immunotherapy. The team has grown from me and my co-founder to 9 people. And we have made a lot of learnings on the way. To give you an idea of what you can do on the platform or the app. So the first thing you're met with is the ability to share your journeys or follow others. If any of you have Instagram, you'll probably understand the concept of this. The second thing is the ability to share your health data and also track your impacts. Third, the ability to share knowledge and learn from others. And fourth, the knowledge that you're not alone. Other people feel like you, and find them. But War on Cancer is more than just a technological platform. War on Cancer is what we believe a paradigm shift towards making patients and people affected by cancer be seen and feel like humans again and not victims. I'd like to finish off with a video. Cancer, it is incapable of any form of reasoning, and it grows stronger because we fear it. Going through cancer is an extremely lonely process. When I got diagnosed, I completely broke down, but I decided to post a message on Facebook to let my friends and family know. Hello, my friends, family, and followers. On the 1st of July, I was diagnosed with leukemia. For those of you who are not familiar with this term, it's blood cancer. The post was shared 13,000 times. I discovered there is a power in us sharing our stories. Sharing creates energy. Each story you read about reaffirms you're not alone. We have created the storytelling platform waroncancer.com for everyone who has their lives touched by cancer. Our mission is simple: to make the world a better place for future generations of cancer warriors. This is the time when we can all come together and feel safe knowing that we are not alone in the fight.
For my friend.
Det här är för mina kusiner.
Pelo meu irmão.
Okay, das ist für meine Freunde in Hamburg.
För min vän.
هذا حق أمي.
Cem bebias.
Para el hijo de mis vecinos.
Det här är för min vän.
Det här är för min vän.
This is for my grandfather.
Wannan na Aisha ne.
Para minha tia.
För min farmor och farfar.
For my grandmother.
Para meu camarada.
For min onkel. For my uncle.
Esto es para mi tía.
For my friend.
This is for my friend's dad.
هذا حق ربعنا.
За подругу.
Для моего любимого человека, моего мужа.
For myself.
This is a platform for all of us, because in the war on cancer, we are more powerful together. Thank you. Now, I'd love to invite Tal up to the stage. Hi, we get a hug?
Nice to meet you.
Likewise.
Hi.
So please talk to me about your inspiration and what has led you to do what you're now doing.
I'm a nurse,
Okay.
and I'm a school nurse. And 2 years ago, I was working in 4 high schools here in Oslo. And I was maximum 2 days in one school. So I was like jumping around, and the students didn't know, when is my school nurse coming? And this became very clear to me one day, because I came to my office, and on the door was a note: the school nurse is here every time it's full moon, and the principal is limping. So you can laugh, but for me it was painful, because I knew somebody had been to my door and it was locked, like it is a lot of times here in Norway. So I decided I have to do something. I have to tell them when I'm here. So I knew that every Norwegian teenagers, boys and girls, they are using Snapchat, the app, to communicate. So I decided I can create the Snapchat account and starting telling them when I'm coming to the school, and maybe give them some piece of education as well. And if they wanted to follow me, I could raise their self-esteem. So
Sounds great.
So I did that, and after 2.5 months, my Snapchat account spread to the whole country. And I decided to, wow, when they decide to follow me, I will decide to work really hard for them, to be there and just talk to them about everything. Like, there is so many taboos in our society.
Certainly.
Regarding sexuality and mental health. So I just love talking to them like normal words and adapt to them and talk in a way they understand. And so I started to communicate, and I started to answering all their questions. Like, for example, one boy could tell me, my girlfriend broke up and I can't stop crying. What to do? And one girl told me, my father, he beat me so hard that he breaks my ribs, and I go to the hospital, saying that I fell down from a tree. And so it's like small things and really serious big things. So I just talk to them, and I want them to just dare to be. And I travel the country to speak and inspire others how to be like professional in another way, how to be more personal maybe, and just choose your words carefully, because your words can have a great impact, and you can have a great impact in how you meet people. So that's what I do.
It's very impressive.
Yeah.
To take the healthcare to where people actually are.
Yeah, I think it's important that we customize more, and we have to use technology in a way like this, because especially social media has been used in so many bad ways. And I want to show how you can use social media in a good way and just be there. So it's not a job for me, it's my life actually now. Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
So now I want to...
I'll hand over.
Yeah. Now I want to invite Fredrik and Gulavsen and Karen Dolva to the stage. They are two people who have used technology in a really good way as well, with their hearts, I would say, to really help others. So, welcome. So, Fredrik, let's start with you. What inspired you to do what you do?
I have been doing tech startups for more than 10 years. But in parallel with that, I've also had a little brother that became more and more ill for 10 years, and now he doesn't live anymore. And that has been the inspiration for NIBI. How about you, Karen?
I have to say I don't have a story like that, and I'm very glad I don't. But I think what inspires me on a day-to-day basis now is seeing that what I was taught in school, how to build technology, can actually improve lives, and we can see how technology can be something warm and something great that empowers. And yeah.
We're interviewing each other.
Yeah, what do you actually do?
Yeah, what we do at NIBI, we have partnered up with a number of municipalities, ideal organizations, voluntary organizations, and private organizations as well. And together we have made a new type digital platform. It's much inspired by the sharing economy. And why we do it is because we have the common challenge it's a cross-policy agreement in Norway and across Europe that we're facing a care crisis with a booming aging population as a main driver. So we have to think and visit new models. So what we have done, our platform is much inspired by the sharing economy, but what is really different is that we are combining the power of digital platforms with the know-how and the institutional trust of the current institutions. So what we have made, we have spent a long time now, several years, to dig into the complexity of public sector with sensitive information, with qualifications and so on, and made it into a very user-friendly app, of course, which is the solution of everything these days. The app does three things. It makes it easy to ask for help, and to navigate, to ask for help directly from those who are going to help you, qualified people. And it makes it easy to contribute, because everyone has something to contribute with. And you can contribute with what you're qualified to. And then it's a human that qualifies what you're good at doing. And then the third thing, is that the platform makes it fundamentally easier for all organizations that want to connect a variety of individual needs with a variety of individual resources, fundamentally through kind of self-organizing. So I'll also talk about this more in the same session as Fabian later today at 1 o'clock. Yeah. You can talk about NIBI for 24 hours. Yeah. Yeah. How about you? You do lots of great things.
Applause first.
Yeah.
I feel how you're saying about talking for 24 hours about what you do. I could probably do the same. I hope we can get the images up there. Yeah. So I work at a company called No Isolation. The name should kind of say it all. We're working towards ending social isolation and loneliness, and we're doing that by creating communication technology. And so far, we've made 2 products. This is AV1. It's a telepresence robot, and I think that Fredrik's brother might have benefited greatly from. It's for kids that are suffering from long-term illness. So if you cannot leave your bed for months or even years at a time, this can be your representation, and you control it from home, and you can see everything and talk to your friends through it. And then secondly, we've made something called KOMP, which is a huge computer, 17-inch screen. We made it in cooperation with the Norwegian Cancer Society, not because seniors that have cancer are more lonely than other seniors, but we saw that any illness will keep a senior from using technology. So loss of hearing, bad sight, bad mobility, loss of memory, that will make it more difficult to use generic technology tools. So KOMP is a computer where they can stay in touch with their families and see everything that's happening in their families' lives and do video communication and such. So I think from No Isolation moving forward, you'll see everything that has to do with social isolation. If it's a program or service or a hardware, we'll try to target each and every group that are suffering from severe loneliness or isolation.
Skal jeg si noe?
Nei, jeg vet ikke. Skal si det med plassen.
Det mer tid igjen.
Det er mer tid igjen.
What
Kjære
about,
venner.
you said you were going to talk for 24 hours.
And then I get stressed out because I'm up here.
So what about what do you think is important for e-health in the future?
Oh, I think we need to see all sides of it. There's so much. There's the mental health part, and then there's the measurements, and you cannot ignore any bits and pieces of it. So the complexity is what I think makes it all difficult. And then we have to have room for everyone. We have to have room for those who makes the whole logistics system behind and connects everyone, and we have to have room for the single products, and we have to have room for the huge industrial hospitals that have to deal with all through a patient's life. And
And we have to have room for people.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Because
Very
it's all about people. It's the main characters of what we do. Yeah.
True. Very true.
That's true. And is there something else that you think is important? Because, for example, I think that...
Good question.
Yeah, because I think it's important, our values, and that we focus more in the possibilities. Because a lot of times I think we are afraid and we focus too much in all the difficulties, and no, it's not possible, I'm afraid to do a mistake, or we cannot, and it's so many laws. So if I was afraid to make mistakes, I would never have been able to do what I do, for example.
Exactly.
So you need to be brave, I think.
And when you talk about values, I think it's so important that we succeed with great products in Scandinavia and in the Nordic countries. Because if we just wait for new technology to come from Silicon Valley, they don't have the values that we share in the Nordic welfare model. So it's so important because it's so much value in code and so much value in technology, how we create that technology. And we have to strengthen and not weaken the Nordic welfare model. I think it's super important.
I also kind of love what you said about taboos. Like, I'm working with people who are lonely. It's not something that you want to go out and state that you are. But just talking about all of the things that we find difficult and hard, and trying to fix them and being a bit more open with each other, I think that will help us out a lot. And that comes to illness as well.
Yeah. a lot of my success is because I dare to be personal. And I can say that I'm lonely sometimes, because we all are, because loneliness is a feeling, and it's as normal as being happy or sad or angry.
Exactly.
So if we dare to share some of our self and personality with the people that we meet in our jobs, then it's easier for them also to share their difficulties with us. And this is important, I think.
Yeah.
So I think we need to have like an emotional revolution together with the digital revolution, and to be more real. And yeah.
I think also because when we now it's so much technology can do a lot of things much better than humans, right? It can calculate much better and so on, but technology doesn't have its own will. It doesn't have emotions and so on. So those are the things that we need to build in education and so on, more empathy and kind of strengthen what humans are really great at, which machines can't do.
You're here.
So thank you. It was really nice to have you here on stage.
Thank you.
You can sit down. Nå skal vi invitere Rosina i pølsa. Vår kjære helseminister Bent Høie. Og da fortsetter vi faktisk på norsk. Så Bent Høie, velkommen opp på scenen. Jeg tar klem, jeg vil helst ta klem.
Hei, veldig kjekt å se dere alle sammen. Jeg synes at dette har vært en veldig inspirerende start å høre på deres ideer og ikke minst også det som dere har fått til. Min ambisjon er å skape pasientens helsetjeneste og pasientens digitale helsetjeneste. Og dere snakket mye om verdier, og det begynner jo også i en grunnleggende verdi knyttet til at hele helsetjenesten er jo for det første til for pasienten, men også ut ifra et perspektiv om at vi trenger en mer bærekraftig helsetjeneste, så er det å utløse pasienten sine egne ressurser, pårørende sine ressurser, helt avgjørende, og pasientene etterspør jo dette selv, og jeg opplever at alle dere fire egentlig har truffet et behov og hos pasienten og deres pårørende som nettopp handler om at de ønsker å bruke mer av sine egne ressurser i den virkeligheten som de er i. Det er jo mange pasienter som har satt opp et bilde av sitt liv der de lager prikker, for eksempel for hver time i livet sitt. Og så har de fargelagt de prikkene som representerer tiden de er i kontakt med helsetjenesten. Og det er selvfølgelig svært få prikker. Og de små prikkene, de små møtene der, er det jo helsetjenesten skal prøve å gjøre noe vesentlig for alle de andre prikkene. Og dere har jo tatt i bruk ny teknologi for å være mer til stede, der faktisk livene leves, og der helsen skapes. Fordi det å ha god helse handler jo om å mestre sitt eget liv, uavhengig om man har en diagnose gjennom en sykdom eller har alderdommen sine vanlige svekkelser. Men nå er det jo sånn at jeg er blitt invitert her i 5 år til å snakke om å gi svaret på hvordan skal vi skape pasientens digitale helsetjeneste. Nå tror jeg at EHiN er blitt lei av mine svar, så de har satt meg til å stille spørsmål i stedet for i dag. Så det er det som er min jobb her, det er å spørre dere, og det er kanskje ikke så dumt, å spørre dere om hva dere mener vi bør gjøre for å lykkes med det som jeg opplever både felles verdier og felles mål for helsetjenesten. Så mitt første spørsmål er rett og slett, hvis dere nå satt i denne stolen, altså var helseminister i Norge, hva ville dere har gjort for at nettopp folk med nye ideer, nye løsninger, som ønsker å endre måten som vi jobber på, sånn som dere 4 representerer, hva ville dere gjort hvis dere var helseminister for at enda flere enn dere 4 skulle ha lykkes med det? Og da lurer jeg på om jeg starter med deg, Karen.
et stort spørsmål. Jeg tror det første jeg må si at jeg synes jo sånne som oss har et ansvar selv, først for å løfte vår egen agenda og jobbe for å informere, dele kunnskap, vise hva det vi gjør. Jeg tror det helt umulig å sitte på toppen og skulle få med seg alt. Det går ikke. Men det sekundet vi klarer å lage en eller annen underskog av stemmer som ønsker seg det vi driver med, det der tror jeg magien ligger. Der må man evne å høre etter, og evne å sette i gang. Og altså, det et alt for komplekst spørsmål. Jeg heldigvis ikke i din stol.
Vi har ikke fått spørsmålene på forhånd.
Men jo. Men nei, jeg tror jeg ville forsøkt å gi kommunene frihet, for vi ser at de kommunene som opplever seg selv som fri, de plukker oss opp ganske fort. De klarer å sette i gang og ta i bruk både AV1 og KOMP. Og så skulle jeg nok ønske at det var et ønske og et driv der. Og jeg føler at det finnes til en viss grad. Jeg føler at det finnes en nysgjerrighet, men den har ikke satt seg helt. og dit må vi.
Så det en slags kulturell endring som må skje, kanskje, for å være mer åpen?
Det kan godt hende. Altså nå selger vi roboter i 13 land, og der vi på en måte har jobbet mest, det UK og Nederland. Og det synes jeg kjempespennende å se der, at de ser mye mer på regnestykket. Altså, om et barn faller ut av skolen, så det dyrt. Det dyrt for alle. Altså for alltid. Og det regnestykket klarer de å telle hjem, bare basert på at de ser at barna deltar gjennom robot. Da får de deltakelse, check. Sannsynligheten for at de kommer tilbake når de blir friske mye høyere, check. Og så regner de hjem. Og da kjøper de uten å liksom gå 100 runder med seg selv om dette nyttig eller ikke, fordi de tror på at det her betaler seg. Da. Det har vi ikke møtt i Norge. Her det litt softere verdier. Og så det veldig hyggelig det også. Her har vi jo møtt skoler som kjøper hvor skoleeier sier dette synes jeg fint. Dette ønsker vi å støtte. Men det blir mindre reliable for et selskap som meg, som vet at hvis jeg har salgsargumentene mine i orden, så får jeg solgt. Det ikke helt tilfellet her.
Så Norge så tenker en mindre helhetlig enn mer opptatt av det som
og jeg synes det blir av og til veldig individdrevet. Der hvor du finner ildsjeler, de kommunene hvor du finner ildsjeler, og de skoleeierne som det. Og plutselig har du en IT-sjef på en skole som bare setter i gang de 10 skolene i området og får til alt på dine vegne. Og det selvfølgelig vidunderlig, men da det veldig vanskelig for sånne som oss 4 å komme seg frem og bygge en bedrift det faktisk går an å leve av.
Flott. Tusen takk. Nå, Fabian, jo jeg satt i rollen som en slags EHiNs Skavlan her, men min svorsk ikke så god som hans, men jeg håper du forstår min norsk. Men du har jo etablert noe som liksom litt gjerne helt på siden av det offentlige helsesystemet og sånt, men ser du noen behov for interaksjon mot det som i Norden jo i all hovedsak en offentlig eid helsetjeneste med ditt produkt?
Absolut. Vi har ju länge pratat om, eller en av våra värdeord som vi alltid har med oss att vi tror på samskapande, eller vi kallar det co-creation. Vi har ju länge varit av åsikten att vi bygger ju det som vi vet bra utifrån ett patientsperspektiv. Jag tror att vi har relativt bra pejl på den mentala resan som patienter och även familj gör. Men det finns ju otroligt mycket kunskap både på det mentala planet. Mycket kunskap som sjukvårdspersonal besitter och sjukvården vet som jobbar med det här dagligen som skulle kunna komma oss till gagn som vi kan ta in i våran produkt, samt även när det kommer till patientdata, patientrapporterad data, så hade det varit naivt att tro att vi själva ska sitta och försöka komma på all möjliga olika typer av data som kan vara intressant för hela cancersamfundet och cancerindustrin. Så därför jobbar vi i ett co-creation-projekt med 6 stycken läkemedelsaktörer just nu där de ger sin expertis i både real world evidence, clinical trials och egentligen all typ av den typen av data som vi skulle kunna leverera till dem. Men vi har märkt också i våra samtal med sjukvården så har vi märkt att just den här idén kring samskapande den är väldigt främmande, känns det som, för sjukvårdspersonal. För att ungefär 2-3 år som vi har varit aktiva så nästan de flesta vi pratar med inom sjukvården säger det här är fantastiskt. Det ni bygger är fantastiskt, skulle hjälpa väldigt mycket människor som går igenom det här, skulle kunna vara ett bra verktyg som kan avlasta sjukvården i sitt arbete med mental hälsa. Men sen när man ska in på nästa steg då vi pratar om där, men då har vi föreslagit, kan vi få sätta oss ner tillsammans med er så kan ni få peka, så tar vi det till er information till våra programmerare och bygger in det. Där faller det. Jag tror inte det finns en riktigt, för då vill sjukvården istället i sina egna innovationsplattformar bygga egna produkter. Och då blir det ett waste of resources istället för att ta en patientdriven produkt och gå ihop med den och bygga. Där tycker jag att från politikers håll man kan lägga mer press på den här typen av lösningar. Att hitta, liksom undersöka vart felet ligger. Är det fel i beslutshierarkin? Är det för komplext? Behövs det utbildning? Behövs det annat ledarskap? Men sen måste jag också säga att en annan sak som vi har diskuterat är att, eller som vi har stött på som är kanske lite mer alarmerande, och det är ju att det är många innovationsmänniskor inom sjukvården som tycker det är fantastiskt, men sen ibland när man kommer fram till att visa produkten för faktisk personal så märker vi att det är många som känner sig väldigt som inte riktigt orkar idag. Det är väldigt mycket nedskärningar inom vården. Det är många, framförallt sjuksköterskor, som inte riktigt känner att de orkar ta till sig ny teknisk innovation som skulle kunna... Man har hamnat i ett mindset där man försöker göra det mesta möjliga bara för att ta sig vidare. Och det är alarmerande, för då stannar ju utvecklingen till. Så där så måste vi hitta sätt att skapa incitament för att driva innovation. Varför ska en sjuksköterska eller någon annan försöka driva och jobba med innovation om den inte får någon belöning? För det är uppenbarligen så att man får ingen ekonomisk belöning för att det är ett offentligt system. Så då måste man hitta andra värdegrunder för att belöna sjukvårdspersonal. Det kanske kan vara så att man kan försöka öka den sociala statusen inom sjukvården för att driva innovation. Så den typen av push måste nog också göras från ert håll. Att se till så att det blir sjukvården blir en miljö där innovation lyfts fram som en av de främsta målgrunderna.
Tack för det. Vi var nå jobber jo med en helsenæringsmelding i Norge, og da var Fredrik og flere andre av oss i Kanada sammen og så på hva de hadde gjort der, og der så vi at i Kanada var kanskje en av hovedforskjellene mot Norge, nettopp det som du beskriver, at i hele helsetjenesten så var det en oppfatning av at dette var en del av oppdraget og bidra til nyskapning. Men du har jo gjort noe som egentlig sånn sett utenfra nesten virker helt umulig, nemlig sagt at vi har jo i Norge en offentlig gratis skolehelsetjeneste, og så har du da skapt en tjeneste ved siden av som ungdom ønsker å ta i bruk. Det på en måte skolehelsetjenestens Airbnb eller Uber. Hvordan er det mulig? Og hvordan skal vi klare å gjøre det mulig nettopp for gründere som deg, som ser et behov og har helt andre løsninger som på en måte bryter fullstendig med systemet og allikevel lykkes, og samtidig ta vare på at vi har en felles ansvar for helsetjenesten i Norge? Det er et stort spørsmål, men det du har fått det til, så det er du som
det var ikke så lett egentlig, og jeg startet jo som ansatt i Oslo kommune og opplevde på en måte å bli holdt litt tilbake og nesten liksom klippet litt vingene av, sånn at for å klare å utvikle helsesista sånn som jeg hadde lyst til, så måtte jo jeg slutte i jobben min og starte privat, fordi ja, det var ikke så lett. Og jeg tenker at det er viktig at det som har gjort at jeg har fått det til, er jo at det bare er den jeg er, at det er ekte. At det er modig, at jeg snakker det enkle språket, at jeg skreddersyr, at jeg går ut og møter dem der de er. Og jeg tenker det er det samme om det er fysisk eller om det er ansikt til ansikt, eller om det er på en måte på nettet, så må man på en måte møte dem på samme måte. Man må være der de er da. Sånn at om Snapchat forsvinner i morgen, så forsvinner ikke helsesøstre, bare flytter jeg med dit de flytter seg. Og hvis ikke man vil være på sosiale plattformer, så må man være mer ute i miljøet, og man må, jeg tenker sånn, i forhold til ungdom da, så er det viktigere å bygge system rundt der de er. For sånn som det er nå, så er det veldig tungvint. Det er sånn forventet at de skal oppsøke voksne på støvet kontor, liksom reise til BUP, reise til helsesøster, reise til barnevernet. Altså det er så utrolig tungvint, spesielt hvis man har det vanskelig. Så man må bygge team rundt elevene der de er, få tverrfaglig, liksom løfte tverrfaglig samarbeid, få alle sammen inn på skolene, BUP, barnevernet, fysioterapi, alle sammen, PPT, og så jobbe i team rundt sammen med lærere, ansvarliggjøre foreldre. Og så må man samtidig være til stede på sosiale medier, på nettet. Man må være litt raskere med å bygge chattetjenester, for eksempel. Det er kjempevanskelig for meg når barn forteller om vold og seksuelle overgrep, så veldig mange faktisk gjør. Og så skal jeg få dem til å ringe alarmtelefonen for barn og unge, eller ringe politiet. Er du klar over hvor vanskelig det er å si ting høyt ut av munnen, det setter seg fast her. Så det å ha chattetjenester der de kan få lov å øve seg og fortelle om vanskelige ting anonymt, det er kjempeviktig. Og så må vi må få en revolusjon faktisk i hele helsevesenet vårt, hvordan vi barnevernet og sånn, at jeg må vite at jeg kan si til dem at når du forteller noen om det som er vanskelig, så er det noen som vil ivareta det på en god måte, uansett hvor du bor i landet, for sånn er ikke det. Og det er altså så vanskelig når jeg ber dem om så fint du fortalte det her til meg, nå klarer du å si det til helsesøstra di. Ja, men helsesøstra mi er ikke her. Eller hun er bare en gang i uka. Og kanskje du kan snakke med en lærer du liker. Ja, men læreren min er så opptatt. Kan du snakke med en psykolog? Ja, men for å gå til BUP så må jeg nødt til å være suicidal. Jeg må ha prøvd å ta livet mitt. Det er kjempevanskelig. Vi kan ikke ha det sånn. Sånn at om noen hadde bedt meg om å bli statsminister eller hva som helst, så hadde jeg sagt nei. For at norsk ungdom, de trenger helsesøster. De trenger at det er der.
Det er bra.
Og er de mest stemme, for det... Ja, sånn at det... Og jeg bruker å si at jeg driter i hva voksne tenker om meg og mitt språk, for det at jeg er her og jeg jobber for norske ungdommer. Så jeg håper at å få alle dere med på laget da, for dette må vi gjøre sammen, og vi kan alle velge hvem vi vil bli husket for.
Veldig bra. Det å be en Høyre-minister sette i gang en revolusjon er jo ganske krevende. Men vi skal få det til. Ja, det er bra. Fredrik, du har også funnet en løsning der du ønsker å samle alle ressursene i samfunnet for å gi et bedre tilbud. Og det er utfordrende for alle de som bidrar inn. Det er jo egentlig kommunen som sitter igjen med den samlede gevinsten, men får du kommunene til å ta det inn over seg at du sitter med en løsning som gir de til slutt en stor gevinst?
Det er det som har vært helt sånn fantastisk. Alle mine gründerkompiser, de tenker jo sånn, gjøre noe sammen med det offentlige, det må være helt håpløst. Jeg tenker sånn, det viktigste kanskje for å få til mer innovasjon, det må være... Jo, men så har vår opplevelse vært at det har vært... Liksom, bortsett fra de 2 første kommunene vi snakket med, så har alle andre kommet til oss. Det har vært helt fantastisk. Og det å gjøre innovasjon, vi har klart å få forhåndsbetalende offentlige kunder uten spesifikasjon, sånn at vi kunne jobbe lean og smidig og utvikle et bra produkt sammen, som har vært helt fantastisk. Så den opplevelsen vi har med å jobbe med offentlig sektor har vært veldig, veldig bra. Så jeg tenker sånn, kjempeviktig del er å redusere mytene i innovasjonsmiljøet og privat sektor om at offentlig sektor er ikke så vanskelig å jobbe med. Og samme i offentlig sektor at det er ikke alle private selskaper som bare er ute etter å tjene penger heller, men man har lyst til å løse store samfunnsutfordringer. Og hvis man skal løse store samfunnsutfordringer i Norden, her hvor vi har store velferdsstater, så må man jobbe med det offentlige, for det er halvparten av hele opplegget. Så det er en sånn, jeg tror den myten, å få redusert den, det er kjempeviktig da. Og det føler jeg så mye backing vi får, og vi alle sammen her får fra offentlig sektor, får mulighet til å sitte her, prate og så videre. Det er enorm verdi da. Ja.
Kjempebra. Da vet vi det. Det skal ikke bare en revolusjon til, men det skal en kulturrevolusjon til. Og vi er godt i gang. Dere har vist at det er mulig å lykkes, men vi er nødt til å få enda flere til å lykkes med å få til endringer sånn som dere har gjort. Og da må vi ikke minst jobbe veldig mye med holdningene til det å kunne jobbe sammen og finne helt nye løsninger. Ikke være så nervøse fordi om noen kommer opp med helt nye løsninger og kommer med et privat initiativ. For det tror jeg kommer til å være helt avgjørende for at vi skal lykkes med å ta vare på det som jeg opplever dere alle fire her innledningsvis snakket om, nemlig de felles grunnleggende verdiene som vårt nordiske velferdssystem bygger på. Tusen takk for samtalen, og da gjør jeg som Fredrik. Takk for nå. Takk.
Vi skal ned her, skal vi ikke det?
Ok, kanskje en applaus til. Det var jo en veldig interessant diskusjon. So, I'm switching to English because we have a lot of English-speaking guests here. My name is Fredrik Syversen. I work with IKT Norge, the Norwegian IT Association, and I'm a colleague of NARD, for those who knows that guy. Dear all, welcome to the 5th annual EHiN. It's actually a 5-year-old child we are celebrating this morning. So it's kind of a first run, and we're looking into the future for what this has become. And it's great to see that we started with a Dutch-Norwegian guy who undertook and actually saw the need for a common arena where we all could meet healthcare professionals, the tech community, and of course the political establishment to carve out the future for our healthcare system. Wow. Over 1,400 people are registered this year. We have over 50 partners contributing and over 30 sessions with over 150 speakers to look forward to the next couple of days. And I think we should give the Dutch-Norwegian guy, Nard, a big hand because he's one of the reasons that we are here today. Well, I can't see him because I got too much light in my eyes, but he's around here somewhere. And people, we are up for a treat next. John D. Halamka is a medical doctor at the International Healthcare Innovation in Harvard Medical School. He's a professor there. He's a CIO of Beth Israel Medical Center, and he's a practicing emergency physician. He's the author of 12 books, thousands of articles, and the popular blog, Life as a Healthcare CIO. He also runs, believe it or not, Unity Farm Sanctuary, a 17-acre organic farm, and an animal rescue close to the Boston area. He also talking about subjects like AI, blockchain, machine learning, and the list goes on. So people, Dr. Halamka, please come up. The floor is yours, and give him a big hand on his way up.
Thank you so much. Well, what great opening speakers. Very, very inspirational. And did you notice that each of those opening speakers came from outside the healthcare establishment? See, isn't that interesting? Because here I am, a Harvard professor. For 25 years, I've lived the dream of delivering IT to 40,000 people, 3,000 doctors, 450 locations of care. And my job has been constant innovation while creating total stability and complete security. It's impossible. And so to see what you have done from outside the healthcare system is truly inspirational. Well, let us start with the first slide. Let's see, here we go. Last evening, with the Norwegian Medical Association, I had dinner on the Fram. And of course, the Fram is the wooden ship, Norwegian wooden ship, that has gone the farthest north and the farthest south of any ship in history. So what this taught me last night, and I've been in Norway for 24 hours, is the Norwegians are explorers. The Norwegians take risks. The Norwegians tolerate the unknown. And so if we were to look at not the next 5 years, I can't predict the next 5 years. I mean, we'll have Facebook implants or something in 5 years, right? But let's look at the next 18 months. What are the kinds of technologies, what is the kind of voyage, what is the kind of exploration that we should embark upon. So this is the Gartner hype curve. You're probably, many of you, familiar with it. A technology is introduced. It immediately rises to the peak of inflated expectations. And only after people try it and realize, no, overpromised and underdelivered, do you then hear the trough of disillusionment. And from the trough of disillusionment, we hope we rise to the plateau of productivity. So look at what in 2018, and this chart just came out 2 months ago. We have blockchain, machine learning, and deep learning. We have various kinds of robotics. And of course, these technologies have great promise. But they also require us to rethink the way we deliver healthcare. Now, I'm a physician, so I can speak about this. Sometimes physicians are somewhat conservative. I don't know if you experience this in Norway. Do any physicians you know carry pagers or use fax machines? It's 2018, a pager and a fax machine. And so if we're to lead healthcare, embracing the kinds of ideas we heard about, we have to think about change management. And let me start for just a couple of minutes on what I've done for 25 years to change the hearts and minds of physicians, administrators, and government. Now, admittedly, I worked for President Bush for 4 years, Obama for 6 years, and the current president, not so much. So there are limits to what you can change. But, yeah. So in speaking with the health minister of Norway, I said, we must, as a society, provide guidance. What is the vision? What is the reason to change? What is the urgency? As you say, we do it for the patients. My wife is a cancer survivor as well. And so we don't simply make change for change's sake. We give the stakeholders a reason to change. And that guidance, that vision, very important. And set priorities. You can't do everything at once. I mean, you're in a startup. You have to decide, what do you do first, second, and third? I travel 400,000 miles a year. And so I visit with health ministers and presidents and prime ministers. And sometimes I find societies that are slightly bureaucratic. Now, the Nordic countries are extraordinary, small, and agile, but other societies can be very, very confused about their priorities. I was having dinner with a health minister recently of a very large country, and I said, there are two choices. You could go left or you could go right. Which should the country do? And he said, movement is important. Okay. So we must set clear guidance and goals. And if I were to look at the success of the Obama administration, now admittedly, in that era, we spent $31 billion on e-health. Now, you don't need to spend $31 billion, but what we did is we had clear guidance for hospitals and doctors about what they must do, and we set stimulus benefits if they did, and ultimately penalties if they didn't. Projects run into trouble. I've, again, done this for 25 years. No matter what you do, politics enter into a project. It's really important to tolerate failure, right? How many startups do we see that fail? Failure is okay. And if you run into trouble, we need to provide political protection for those who run into trouble and not blame them. One of the roles that I play is communication, and you can't over-communicate. As you are going through a change, make sure the doctors, the nurses, the administrators, everyone who's affected is aware of the change, why the change is important, and what progress you've made. Now sometimes, and I don't know if you've experienced this, people don't understand that there's the linkage between the resources available, the scope of the project, and the time of the project. And you can't double the scope half the time and not provide resources. It just doesn't work. And so asking people to do twice as much work and not giving them resources is something you should never do. Resource your projects appropriately. And one of my roles at Harvard, sometimes I describe Harvard as 1,000 points of veto, right? So many different strong opinions. And so I have to mediate disputes. I could actually tell you the technology is easy. It's the psychiatry that's hard. It's important to listen to your stakeholders. because so many projects that fail, at least in my experience, are because they're top-down and change is imposed as opposed to brought up from the people who are being changed. And you must have empathy because change is difficult, right? Think about what a clinician faces every day. A clinician has 11 minutes to see the patient, attempts to listen and be empathetic. And in the United States, we have one lawyer for every 200 people. So if you ever make a mistake, you're going to get sued. It's very challenging to then add technology change on top of their already busy day. It's important to delegate, right? All of us have to trust those who we hire to take on the work and share the burden. It's important to be very responsive and accessible. So I get 1,500 email a day, but yet I answer every one of them. And it doesn't matter what time zone I'm on. Now, there is a great advantage of flying west because I get greater than 24-hour days. So tomorrow, I get a 30-hour day. It's going to be great. I'm an emergency physician. I trained in Los Angeles at really the height of the drug wars and gang violence. I was the trauma surgeon on call during the Rodney King riots, the racial riots in Los Angeles. So now when someone comes to me with an IT problem, say, I had to deal with gunshot wounds to the head. An IT problem, that's not so hard. Oh, my slides are jumping by themselves. It must be the AI system, that's it. I'm not touching anything. Go back, go back, go back. Anyway, so it's important to have great equanimity. Always be even. Not too high, not too low. Always be predictable. Okay, one slide forward. Can we do it? Okay, here we go. One slide forward. And the last thing I just want to say about it is you orchestrate change. Then I'll go into some of the changes we should make, inspired by some of our previous speakers. I would love to say the world of the future will be simpler and predictable and filled with resources and extra time, and people will be kind to each other. Unfortunately, the world that we are going to encounter over the next decade will have increasing volatility. I mean, just look at our United States government, right? Look at the elections we just had. It's like we have 5 countries. It's very challenging for me in a world with so much rapid change to predict what the future will bring. It will be uncertain. We will not be sure what technologies work and don't work, what patients really need or don't. We have to try many things. And technology will bring increasing complexity. So think about it. I am 57 years old. The technology I grew up with was the typewriter, right? I know what a carriage return actually means. It's pushing the thing this way. Line feed. I used whiteout, right? And so now think of what we have, right? Each of us is carrying a supercomputer on our bodies with more power than any spacecraft ever sent to the moon, right? It's complex. And we really aren't able to completely understand the impact of what we do. There's a lot of ambiguity. So it's very much like those early explorers to the North Pole and South Pole. This is what they encountered. And I was in the bowels of the ship last night. I can tell you those journeys were hard. And our journey ahead will also be hard, but worth it. And what should we do? So let me tell you just 3 quick stories. I think care needs to be reimagined. And maybe the most controversial thing I'll say, I think the care of the future will not be in a hospital or a doctor's office. It will be in your home and on your phone, right? And that's what we need to think through. And here's an example of what I mean. 6 months ago, my wife, who is also 57, said, I've had a weight loss I didn't expect. I had a heart rate 110 or 120 chronically. My eyebrow hair was thinning, and my hair was brittle. Well, what I've just described to you is thyroid disease. Now, what would be standard care? So I don't know what the traffic is like in Oslo, but in Boston, we don't actually measure distance anymore in miles. We measure it in hours, right? It's just driving to your doctor's office, parking, waiting for the appointment. It can lose half a day. What did she do? Well, we have a secure doctor-patient texting platform, sort of similar to the kind of social approach you've taken. So she said, my primary care physician knows me very well. They've established trust. She used the application to say, these are my signs and symptoms. I'm thinking it could be a thyroid issue. So instead of spending weeks waiting for an appointment and losing half a day, that day the doctor said, yes, I agree with you. Let us do some laboratory testing to figure out if you have a thyroid issue. And there's a lab 5 minutes from your home and the parking is free. So she got a TSH, a T3, T4. It showed she had hyperthyroid disease. So at that point, the primary care doctor could arrange an in-person visit to a specialist. So yes, of course, in-person visits are going to still be important. You need the physical examination, and we want the empathy and the contact and the relationship. But we short-circuited all of the weeks of waiting to get to the specialist by using a phone. Specialist diagnosed her with Graves' disease, gave her methimazole, a particular medication, and then that medication within 2 weeks made her better. So in effect, we coordinated a primary care doctor, a specialist, a pharmacist, a laboratory, a patient and their family, all with a phone at great quality and low cost. And in the US, we're starting to see reimbursement change. We're not paying for sickness. We're not paying for what I would call heads in beds, right? We actually want empty hospitals because we want patients to be healthy in their homes. Let me give you another example, and this one's personal. Some of you who know me know that I have no privacy of any kind. It's completely fine for me to share every medical detail. I was the second human sequenced in the Personal Genome Project, and so 15 years ago I signed away all my privacy. My genome is public, my stem cells are public, my medical record is public. If you want to look at it, personalgenomes.org, patient 2, right? No problem. I've been a vegan for 25 years. So body mass index of 21, completely healthy, exercising, eating right. So imagine my shock 6 months ago when my blood pressure was 170/100. How could this be? And my primary care doctor said, being a chief information officer is extremely stressful. I bet it's stress. So let's use an Internet of Things device that you buy on Amazon, a Withings blood pressure cuff with Bluetooth, and measure your blood pressure when you wake up. And then before and after you commute. And then before and after meetings with your boss. And then before and after coffee in the afternoon. And let's look. We did that. In one day, we were able to trend my entire blood pressure over all of my activities of daily living. The data went to my phone, and then from my phone to the electronic health record. And we proved there was no relationship between my lifestyle and my blood pressure. I had a few tests done, and it was clear the problem was my parents. You can't choose your parents, right? My father had high blood pressure, my mother has high blood pressure, my grandparents all had high blood pressure. It just took 57 years to show up in me. So then I was prescribed a medication, and that medication was a beta blocker, metoprolol XL. Now, I was given 50 milligrams of metoprolol. Now, I know I have no privacy, but some of you might. If any of you have been on beta blockers, you know this is like negative espresso. It's like very, very tiring and mood altering, and you're unhappy and depressed. Why 50 milligrams? Well, you know that our pharmaceutical companies, although well-intentioned, are giving average doses for average humans based on limited trials. None of the medications that any of us take were tailored to the person who's taking that medication. So 50 milligrams was just not the right dose for me. So again, I used that electronic blood pressure cuff and took it from 50 to 25, measured blood pressure, sent the data to my phone, to my clinician, then took it from 25 to 12.5. What I achieved was perfect blood pressure and no problems with mood or energy. And all that was done in 2 days, right? So I didn't have to go 6 weeks to this appointment and 6 weeks to that appointment. Can you imagine living with negative espresso for 6 weeks? Forget it. All of this, so rapid, so inexpensive, and so effective, done with the phone. Let me give you a final example, and that's my wife's cancer experience. So my wife had stage 3A breast cancer that was HER2 negative, estrogen positive, and progesterone positive. She's Korean. Has there ever been medical literature on Korean 50-year-old women who have those biomarkers in breast cancer? No. So what do? Harvard has 17 hospitals. They don't like each other very much, but we can share data. And so I was able to look at every patient like her over the course of the last 20 years and figure out what were the treatments, what were the outcomes, and what were the side effects. And what we discovered was Korean or Asian women are very sensitive to Taxol, a particular chemotherapy drug. So what we did was a clinical trial of 1. We took her Taxol dose, divided it in half, and at the end of her treatment, she had remission, but no side effects. And that's really important because she's an artist, and Taxol causes numbness of your hands. So an artist who was cured but couldn't work would be a suboptimal outcome. And all of that was done because the data of patients in the past helped us treat patients in the future. And that's going to be incredibly important. Here are just a few of the apps that we make available. Now, again, I said these folks innovated outside the establishment, outside the standard electronic health record. Well, our view is these apps live on top of the electronic health records. You know, over in the corner here, we have an interoperability showcase that is going to show you how emerging standards like HL7 FHIR, the Fast Healthcare Interoperability Resources, make data available to cloud developers and app developers outside the electronic health record. So Cerner is fine and Epic is fine, but you in this audience are all innovators. Shouldn't you be creating innovation without having to wait for a government-funded project or a single unified project plan or top-down governance? The answer is, of course. Let 1,000 apps bloom and integrate with the electronic health record. Our patients access all their data via apps, including their notes. And this one over in the corner, called My ICU, is interesting. My father died 5 years ago. He had multiple sclerosis, 3 heart attacks, and myelodysplastic syndrome. His bone marrow didn't work. My mother sat in the ICU and had no sense if he was getting better or worse. She watched the pulse oximeter, and she said, "Look, it's going from 82 to 83. He's getting better." Well, anyone who's a clinician knows a pulse ox in the 80s is just bad, and 82 to 83 doesn't mean a thing. My ICU shows patients and families a dashboard. What are the goals for the patient today? What will happen to the patient today? What is their trajectory? What are their physician orders for life-sustaining treatment? And so now patients and families have full visibility into the whole course of treatment of their loved one, and they can get this data anywhere in the world on any mobile device. But I will be honest, the technology was easy, but as I said, the psychology was hard. Imagine you have multiple children, and here I'll just pick on somebody. So you have a good child and a bad child. Now we're going to give both those kids access to all your end-of-life planning, right? We had to think about who sees what, who controls what, especially if the patient can't give us their express permission because maybe they're on a ventilator or otherwise incapacitated. So we had a whole hierarchy of decision-making around that. This is BIDMC at home. For many chronic conditions like congestive heart failure, it's really important to look at, are you compliant with your medications? Do you take your Lasix? Do you take your blood pressure medication? And then look at the Internet of Things devices in your home, your bathroom scale, blood pressure measurements, pulse ox, glucometer. So we bring all those together on your phone, and then we ask questions. Oh, it seems like you've been eating a lot of salt, and that you have gained 10 pounds in the last weekend, and you have congestive heart failure and you have not been taking your medication, how is your breathing? Ah, my breathing is not so good. You have the beginnings of a congestive heart failure emergency. We're going to send a nurse to your home today. We're going to double your Lasix, and we're going to take away all your salty foods. This is the kind of intervention that keeps a patient healthy in their homes. And the health minister may say, oh, but this is very expensive. Well, to hospitalize a congestive heart failure patient, $20,000, at least in the US. To buy an electronic bathroom scale, $100. It is far cheaper to keep patients healthy with connected devices in their home than to see them in the hospital. Last thing I'll conclude with just a few thoughts about machine learning. We're going to hear a lot about artificial intelligence and machine learning at this conference, and I want to make sure all the clinicians in the audience know this is not about replacing clinicians. It's about making them more effective. It's about helping patients and families navigate the healthcare system. The kinds of things we've done with machine learning, as I said, we have millions of patients of the past that can teach us about patients in the future. All of my data, 11 petabytes, is stored on Amazon. Now you ask why? Well, Amazon's actually a lot better at running IT than hospitals, I'll be honest, right? And so we do machine learning on data hosted on Amazon. Our operating room schedules are made by Amazon. Why? Well, because, he's a young, healthy guy. He needs his appendix out. Does he need an hour? No, 25 minutes, because I've looked at 1 million patients just like you. And we were able to free up 30% of our OR capacity by using machine learning on data of the past to schedule surgeries in the future. And similarly, looking at who will show to their appointment and who not. If they're not going to show, based on a machine learning model, call Uber. Get them to their appointment. When will you be discharged from the hospital? We can predict and then, in the days before, get all the work done to get you out on time. And these are just all the kinds of things we're doing to make hospital workflow better, to augment the way physicians work. So I'll conclude by saying I think the future over these next 18 months is very bright. We'll see the use of mobile and machine learning, of enhanced interoperability, a use of the cloud. But you must be bold, and you must take risks, and you must accept failure. And that's okay. And if Norway has hundreds of years of tradition of accepting risk, I think in e-health, the same will be true and will be successful. So thanks very much.
First of all, thank you so much. And I think one of the issues at hand, at least for Norway, which is a publicly funded healthcare system, is all these things that you talked about, they are moving into the private sector and maybe are undermining the publicly funded system. How do you see that come together? Because it's a big, big thing for publicly funded systems like that we have in the Nordics.
Sure. So again, I travel the world, so I see these trends in many, many countries. And so what happens is public and private coexist, and that's okay, right? And so the idea that you're going to see these bold new innovations in the private sector, and some of them will succeed and some of them will fail, but we've got to try, and when we see a model that works, it's fine, then it will grow. And there's no question that as I look at public healthcare system across the world, it does some things extremely well. In fact, it provides a social safety net and healthcare for all and a basic level of care. So I really think, I see this in China even now, with 5% of all healthcare in China delivered from private companies and innovators. So let them coexist. What I've always told people is, instead of saying either or, say and.
Okay. One big hand once more. And,
thank you.
See you later.
Absolutely.
Thank you, John. Jeg er tilbake til norsk igjen. Vi går inn i pause. Bak her så er det innovasjonsarenaen på EHiN, så jeg håper alle kan ta seg en liten tur innom der. Ellers så er det jo selvfølgelig masse partnere rundt hele her som ser helt smashing ut, i hvert fall fra her jeg står. Så nå er det pause. Kaffe her, mat litt rundt omkring. Så håper dere har hatt en fin åpning. Så ses vi om litt.